He never would have related or identified with the Samaritan. Who would he have identified with? The good Jewish man going from Jerusalem to Jericho. In other words, here's the scenario Jesus has set up for this man. Imagine that you are lying half dead, helpless on the side of the road, and the only thing that can save you is a radical act of compassion from someone who owes you nothing but contempt. Would you accept that help? And if you accepted a radical act of mercy and compassion and love from someone who should have nothing but contempt for you, what would that do to your heart? If someone was willing to reach across racial barriers and religious barriers and cultural barriers and bear on himself the cost of making you whole again, would that change you? Would that cause you to rethink your biases and assumptions and your view of the world, to receive that kind of mercy? Look at how everything wraps up. Which of these three do you think was a neighbor? Pay attention to that. Was a neighbor to the man who fell into the hands of robbers? The expert in the law replied, the one who had mercy on him. Jesus told him, go and do likewise. Now, what was the original question? Who is my neighbor? What did Jesus do to the question? Who was a neighbor to you? This is so big. I want you to write this down in your notes. He asked the question, who is my neighbor? Jesus turned the question around, who was a neighbor to you? In the parable, somebody represents God and somebody represents us. If the person representing us is the man lying half dead on the side of the road in need of help, then who represents God? The one who is willing to come down from his exalted place down to our level so that we could be lifted up to his exalted place. The one who is willing to bear the burden and the price to make you whole again. Jesus is the Good Samaritan. Jesus is the Great Samaritan, who not just risked his life to help us in our need, he gave his life to help us in our need and to bring us back to God. And only when the mercy and compassion and love of Jesus has entered into your heart will it transform your heart so that you become the kind of person who can love God with all your heart because he has loved you so greatly. And you trust him with all of your soul. And you love him with everything you do. And you love him with all of your thoughts because you're just captivated with wonder that God would love you like this, that God would bear the burden of your own sin so that we could be united with him forever. And that's what fills your heart to love your neighbor, the people like you, the people nothing like you, the people who owe you nothing but kindness, the people who owe you nothing but contempt. That's what leads you to love your neighbor as yourself.